let's talk about latkes. Welcome back to Sprung On Food. I'm your host, Kae Sprung. This season, we're talking about favorite foods, the history behind it, and the role it plays in the world today. Joining me today is comedian and nanny, Lindsay Lucido. Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am very excited that you are here. You are such a funny person. And I was really delighted when you chose this food because it is one that we were talking briefly about before we started recording that nobody's chosen yet. So whenever that happens, I'm like, heck yes, let's go. So your favorite food, latkes. I've got to know why this is your favorite food. Tell me all the things.
I mean, it's possible, my mom's side of the family is Jewish. So, obviously I had latkes as a kid for a lot of different Jewish holidays, I guess mostly Hanukkah. But I will say it is best with applesauce. I'm not sure what other people's opinions are, but I am not a sour cream on latkes person. But I don't know, they're fried and they're moist, and maybe there's a little bit of the nostalgia aspect to it as well. But when a latke is good, it's great.
Yeah. And so I know you mentioned primarily Hanukkah. Are there any other times of the year when you might have it, or is it pretty much like special occasion, holiday only for you?
I eat it year round. I eat them year round. I mean, that's not like I don't think that's like a Jewish thing. When I go, there's a diner and their latkes are delicious.
Oh, do we give them a shout out? Or?
Oh, it's called the Mansion. It's on the Upper East Side.
Mansion, how regal.
Yeah, I will say that like latkes are great when they're made well. But I am kind of picky about them, I guess.
Okay. What's the criteria like for you? What makes a good latke, or how's the Mansion making them? How does that compare to the ones you grew up with?
I think the level of moistness is probably important to me. I find that a lot of times they can be dry. Even when they're homemade, I had some homemade ones over the holidays that my sister and my mom made. And I mean, I love them both dearly, but I don't know. They didn't quite hit like the Mansion latkes do. And I think it was a little that they felt they tasted a little dry.
Okay, sure. Nobody wants that. And so what are the Mansion, or I guess, maybe more an ideal one? Is it the moistness? We got that. Are they doing anything else in particular in terms of like texture or any unexpected ingredients?
I'm not sure about ingredients. They're definitely crispy on the outside. The interesting thing is the ones at the Mansion that I really like. They're very thick, which doesn't seem like something I would like. I've always joked with like French fries and stuff that I'm like, I need them to be thin and crispy because like I don't want them to taste too potato-y. But the Mansion ones are pretty thick, and I think they're so good. And I do ask for extra applesauce because they'll like give you, like this tiny little like condiments container full of applesauce.
And I'm like, those little ramekins. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these? Like,
yeah.
So I last time I went, I asked for extra, and they gave me like, one of the cups of applesauce.
Yeah, like a proper serving. Yeah. It's funny because I was having a similar conversation with a previous guest who their favorite food was breakfast burritos. And I think we were talking about, for them in particular, if I'm not mistaken, it was sour cream for the breakfast burrito. And his whole thing too was like, yeah, they give you like this tiny little thing, which is like clearly not enough for like the full enjoyment of the meal. Like, we need to petition this and tell like, I guess, yes, you can always ask for more. I don't know. Did they do a solid and just give it to you, or did they charge you extra?
Yeah, I guess I don't know if they charged me extra for it. They might have.
They were like, how much do you want?
Yeah. I just like am not a fan of. I love sour cream actually, like on other things, like quesadillas, sour cream is great. Latkes though, I think I need the sweetness kind of to accompany it, which the sour cream does not have.
Yeah, no, I mean, totally fair. And I feel like once you find that kind of pairing that works for you, because at the end of the day, it's your meal, so you should enjoy it how you want to. When you find the one that works for you, it's like, this is what I want. No shade to the other one, but
And
yes.
over the holidays, like, so my mom and my sister made latkes, and they multiplied the batch by like 1.5 because it said it would make like 20, and they're like, okay, we'll make 30, and they ended up with like 40 plus a bunch of extra that they had to like get rid of. They were like, this is way, like, we spent like hours like switching out people to make them.
Oh,
So it was taking, like, they just had so much batter.
wow. I mean, sounds kind of like a dream for you though, right? Or was it like too many to like really?
Yeah, but I feel bad saying this, but like, I didn't love them. I didn't.
Oh,
think that
right. These were the ones that were like, mom and sister shield your ears, but they were a little bit dry.
I'm not sure
so
what
yeah,
it was
you were like,
about
more
them.
is not more here. Yeah.
I was like so excited to have them, and then I was disappointed. And then they're not that great like as leftovers either. Well, I think if they are made well and you like put them in the toaster or something, I'm sure they would be great. But
yeah,
these,
maybe. But
I was like really looking forward to having homemade latkes, and then I was a little disappointed. And I feel really bad saying that because I'm not a like chef. I don't cook stuff, and my mom and my sister were like in the kitchen like the whole week, like making everything, and I don't want to sound ungrateful.
No, we appreciate them. We love the effort, but of course, to better understand and appreciate our food, we have to know where it came from. We're talking latkes today. Potato latkes, yes, but also the older, lesser-known ancestors of the latke, the symbolism behind them, and how this little fried pancake traveled across centuries, borders, and ingredient availability to land exactly where it is today, on your plate, probably with applesauce or sour cream. And which is better? You can fight about it in the comments. So what is a latke really? Today, when most people say latke, they mean a shredded potato pancake fried in oil. But historically and linguistically, that definition is a little too neat. The word latke comes from Yiddish, and before that, from Slavic languages that used versions of oladka or oladya to describe small fried pancakes. Dig even further back, and you hit Greek roots tied to oil and frying, which is fitting because if there's one constant across latke history, it's this: if it's a latke, it's fried. So rather than the latke starting as a potato dish, it started as a method. Here's where things get interesting and where people get a little tripped up. Hanukkah commemorates events from the 2nd century BCE, but the foods we associate with the holiday today evolved much later. One of the earliest written references linking fried pancakes to Hanukkah appears in a medieval Hebrew poem from the early 14th century, written by Jewish philosopher Kalonymus ben Kalonymus. He describes levivot, fried pancakes, being eaten during the holiday. But guess what? These early pancakes were not made with potatoes. Potatoes hadn't even arrived in Europe yet. Lindsay, breaking news to maybe some people that these early pancakes, these latkes, weren't made of potato. Do you happen to know or want to take any wild guesses? It could be wrong answers only of what they were made out of. Corn? Ooh, I like that. I like that guess. I will say it isn't corn, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of craving like those, what are they? Like those little corn cakes,
Yeah, I know.
fried
Maybe that's
little.
probably what I'm
Ooh.
thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. From a taste perspective, I'm obsessed with that. I love that. And this one, I will say, it is surprising. Instead of the potato, in medieval Jewish communities across Europe, they made Hanukkah pancakes from what they had: cheese, grains like buckwheat, and other local staples. These fried foods fulfilled the symbolic requirements, honoring the miracle of oil, without relying on ingredients that wouldn't exist for centuries. You might have heard that latkes are connected to the biblical story of Judith. You also may have never heard this before. The Book of Judith is a Jewish text preserved in Greek and included in the Septuagint, sometimes referred to as the Greek Old Testament, but not the Hebrew Bible, and it could very well sound like the wildest true crime story you'd see in a Netflix documentary. It tells the story of Judith, a wealthy, devout widow who saves her city, Bethulia, from an invading Assyrian general named Holofernes. Judith enters the enemy camp, charms Holofernes, and waits until he becomes drunk and falls asleep. She then beheads him, brings his head back to her people, and the enemy army collapses in panic. So, what does this have to do with latkes? Well, I mentioned before that they originally contained cheese, and the cheese detail comes from later Jewish interpretation, not the original text. In medieval Jewish retellings and commentaries, Judith is said to have fed Holofernes cheese or salty dairy foods. Salty dairy makes him thirsty, he drinks excessive wine, becomes intoxicated, and falls asleep, allowing Judith to kill him. It's important to note this dairy emphasis is interpretive storytelling, not historical claim about what actually happened, since, we don't really have anybody to interview from around then. Okay, so we have quite the story, but how does this tie into Hanukkah? In the Middle Ages, Jewish communities, especially in Southern Europe and Italy, began associating Judith with Hanukkah for a few reasons. First, Judith's story involves deliverance from foreign rule, which thematically parallels the Maccabee story. Second, Hanukkah lacked extensive biblical narrative outside of later historical texts, so communities supplemented it with resonant stories, and Judith became viewed as a Hanukkah-era heroine, even though historically she predates it and it's not part of the Hanukkah origin story. From there, a custom developed in some communities of eating dairy foods on Hanukkah, specifically in remembrance of Judith. This included cheese-based dishes, sometimes fried, which at that time intersected well with Hanukkah's broader emphasis on foods cooked in oil. So before potatoes entered the picture, latkes were a little different. Lindsay, were you at all familiar with the story of Judith?
No, I will also be the first to admit, though, that I am not. I think something about being raised not religious, like, my mom's side was raised Jewish and my dad's side was raised Christian. Like, I think that means that I was raised atheist. So I don't have all of the, I don't know, maybe in Jewish households, this is more common knowledge, but
yeah, not necessarily at all. I think there are some people who might have heard of it, some who clearly, this is perhaps, if they're listening to this is the first time they're hearing of it. As a writer and comedian, could you ever imagine adapting this story into a modern, maybe even comedic version?
I think definitely. I mean, I think that anything that that starts with murder and then evolves into food is rife for entertainment.
Would this be I don't know, like a dramatization? Would this be, because I love, do you like true crime or documentaries?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are there any in particular that you've seen that you're like, ooh, this would be great in the way that this one was delivered, or this one was made? Is there one that you've recently watched that you really enjoyed?
I feel like I watched so many of them that they all kind of blend together in a maybe way that's problematic. These are people's lives. Why am I indulging on it? But I think I was recently, there's so much on Netflix that I've been watching. I think what was is her name Eileen? What was the infamous woman serial killer, where it was she was one of the first women to be on death row, I think, but then there was this documentary that came out because she was claiming self-defense because she was in sex work, and there were a lot of guys, because she didn't kill every client, that it was a self-defense thing. So that was the most recent one, I'd say. I think that if we were to create a food in memoriam of a murderer, I think that would be that's a great story. I think we could make that into a modern tale.
Yeah, right. Any names come to mind of what we would title this this story?
Oh, the head of the cheese.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's enough mystique and mystery to kind of pull you in, but it does create context. So I'm into it. Don't you? I mean, it's documented, so we know that you came up with that first. So when this documentary hits, or you're a part of it and has this title, we'll know where that the origin story of that. Yeah. Now, potatoes are a New World crop. They didn't become widespread in Europe until the 17th and 18th centuries. And even then, adoption was uneven. And if you want to learn a little bit more about potatoes, you can check out the History of French Fries episode on YouTube or available wherever you get your podcasts. But by the 18th and 19th centuries, potatoes have become a staple in most of Eastern Europe. They were cheap, filling, reliable winter staples when grain or fresh produce was scarce, and accessible, exactly the kind of ingredient that working class families could rely on. Ashkenazi Jewish communities adapted their existing tradition of fried Hanukkah pancakes to this new ingredient. Grated potatoes fried beautifully in oil. They crisp at the edges, soften in the center, and could be stretched to feed the family. The potato wasn't just a substitute, but an upgrade. Potatoes behaved enough like earlier pancake bases to feel familiar, while also producing a pleasant texture and delicious taste. Most importantly to note, Jewish food traditions historically emphasized method over ingredient and symbolism over strict form. And so this is where the potato latke starts to take shape. And it's not a stretch, since fried potato pancakes existed in non-Jewish Eastern European cuisines, like Belarusian draniki or Polish placki ziemniaczane. Jewish households almost certainly ate similar fried potato dishes outside of Hanukkah, especially in winter. But latkes are not a daily or weekly food. Frying required oil or fat, which was expensive, and frying was labor intensive. So while potato pancakes existed more broadly, latkes as a named, ritualized food were really associated with Hanukkah because they symbolized the miracle of oil. Whether you were frying cheese pancakes in medieval Italy or potato latkes in 19th century Eastern Europe, the act of frying itself was the ritual. Latkes were shaped by geography, economics, and availability, and that adaptability is part of why they survived. Lindsay, while it doesn't have to be 100% exclusive to Hanukkah, as you shared with me, you do enjoy eating them throughout the year. A lot of times, latke are associated with Hanukkah and eaten during that holiday. Are there any other foods or beverages that you think might feel strange or out of their element if they're eaten or drank outside of the holiday or time that they're known for?
So this is going to be kind of funny because this is very much associated with Christmas, what I'm thinking of. Again, I was raised with both Hanukkah and Christmas in my life, but I love eggnog.
I knew you were going to say that for some reason.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes.
love
Tell me
eggnog,
all about it.
But it's like sacrilege if you drink it like not during like December.
Yeah. Every time I write these questions, I have to then think about it myself. Like, what would I think? I have to at least allow myself to come up with something, because that would be just cruel if I don't and then make the guest do it. And I think eggnog was probably at the top of my personal list too, because I was like, oh boy, could you imagine? It's like July
Yeah.
and somebody's like, kind of feel like some eggnog. Okay, perfect. So yeah.
My dad does make his own version of eggnog.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember. I feel like he does it outside of the holidays.
Oh,
But
when? How far outside the holidays?
So I know he does like like the holidays is definitely like the time he mainly does it. He did it at Thanksgiving, which feels a little early.
Okay.
For me, but not, it's close enough to.
We're in the ballpark.
Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like whenever we have family over, again, I could be wrong. I feel like he just will sometimes be like, does anybody feel like having eggnog? And I think it is primarily during the holidays, but I'm sure we drink it outside as well. Like, but his version is not like your typical eggnog. Like, there's no nutmeg in it, so it's like doesn't even taste.
Oh.
It's like this is just like a cream drink. Like, it doesn't taste like eggnog, so it doesn't feel like
exactly the same. Is it still the same kind of consistency? Is it like that thicker, or is it any different?
He's had two different versions of it. Like, one he used like ice cream with it, and another like egg whites. And I think it's delicious, but it's not eggnog. It's like he keeps calling it eggnog, and I'm like, it's just a drink. It's good. But it's not eggnog.
Maybe that's why he's able to kind of offer it up and entice people outside of Christmas, because he's like, well, it's not exactly.
Yeah,
It's not even. It's
exactly.
not the same. You can have this.
It just felt like a thing he would do when we had like big gatherings, like people staying
Okay.
over at our house. But maybe that was just always Thanksgiving. Like,
Okay.
so maybe it is like sort of in the which eggnog is being sold around in November, I think, at stores. They started like
Yeah, maybe it's supposed to be a preview. Like, get
yeah.
excited for Christmas, guys. I know it's only Thanksgiving, but we've got a little sneak peek here with our eggnog, and aren't you pumped? So,
It's always like it's my Jewish side of the family that we do Thanksgiving with. So it's funny because it's even though eggnog is not inherently like a Christmas drink, it's just like it just feels Christmassy, you know?
yeah. And so they're like, okay, well, I guess I get my hit of eggnog
Yeah.
during Thanksgiving, and that's great because we don't do Christmas. So I don't know, fun for the whole family. Why not? Well, as Ashkenazi Jews migrated in large numbers during the 19th and early 20th centuries to Western Europe, North America, and elsewhere, latkes traveled too. In the United States especially, latkes became embedded in immigrant food culture. Community cookbooks, synagogue fundraisers, and home kitchens began to standardize what many now consider the classic latke: shredded potato, grated onion, egg, a binder like flour or matzah meal, salt, and oil. By the early 20th century, the potato latke had become dominant in many Ashkenazi households, not to erase older versions, but because it fit the moment. And of course, you can be a purist and have your latke au naturel, but oftentimes you might either enter the debate of applesauce versus sour cream, or you might just go for both. But where did either combination come from? Well, apples might have been the older pairing. They were common in Eastern Europe, easily stored through the winter, and cooked into sauces and preserves well before refrigeration. Not to mention, applesauce paired naturally with fried, starchy foods. Sweet and fried combinations were common in Ashkenazi cuisine, so applesauce likely became a latke accompaniment in Eastern Europe, not later in America. Now, sour cream was widely used in Eastern Europe and commonly paired with potatoes in both Jewish and non-Jewish cooking. However, because kosher law separates meat and dairy, sour cream would only be served when latkes were fried in neutral oil, not schmaltz, which is animal-derived. So this distinction likely shapes some households' practice, applesauce versus sour cream, and some who enjoy both if they don't serve or eat meat or don't keep kosher. Lindsay, I know you are team applesauce. If there was some kind of a debate of applesauce v sour cream, what are some of your selling points, and how would you pump up applesauce to win this debate?
Well, I think I mentioned this, but like, you know, applesauce has a moist level that I think sour cream does not, and that it
Okay.
like so I guess it also depends on the texture you like your latkes to be. I think it kind of softens them a little bit and adds a bit of moistness to like the middle of it. Whereas sour cream, you know, it doesn't really soak in like applesauce does. And I think that the sweet and fried combination, as you mentioned, is just elite. Again, I'll eat sour cream and other things. I don't think I would want applesauce on my quesadilla, but sour cream
Okay.
is great. Just for some reason, I've tried to get into sour cream with my latkes when I run out of applesauce. I'm like, we got sour cream still, like, and then I just can't. I can't do it.
Okay. So we've entered in our applesauce into the debate. Since there is nobody to oppose you, you have won. But no, I think that those are great. Those are great points. This might sound crazy to some people, or it may make perfect sense. I don't know. But if I ever have a potato pancake in the wild, I like ketchup. Does that sound disgusting to you, or does that make sense?
It's it sounds disgusting, but it makes
Okay.
sense because it's like
Okay.
French fries. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we eat French fries. I use ketchup with my French fries. It just feels wrong.
Got it.
You
Okay.
you are just you're doing something morally wrong, but
Okay. Okay.
but
Okay.
it's not wrong. It's not like actually wrong.
I'm not hurting anybody, but you're doing it all wrong. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. To me, I'm just like, oh, that makes sense. Like
I mean, it
I like
does.
but there are a lot of people who don't like ketchup in general, so that would also sound not appealing. But yeah, don't worry, that's not an option in this. We're just
You
focusing
know,
on the
I
applesauce
think
sour cream
I think
controversy.
maybe if my niece, the one who didn't like the lot, because I think if she loves ketchup. I think if she had been given ketchup, it might have changed things for her.
ketchup as like the vehicle for listen, the next time if you have a gathering all together with where the latkes are, give it a whirl. Please report back. I
Yeah.
gotta know if I stand alone here, or if maybe, she and I can go out to the mansion one day together and dip ours in ketchup in perfect harmony. Well, and of course, it's worth mentioning the addition of modern innovation and convenience in the form of mixes. While it's a little difficult to nail down the exact date, popular Jewish food company Manischewitz came out with a potato pancake latke mix likely around the 1990s. American Jewish households were balancing tradition with modern schedules, smaller kitchens, and less time. Like many food companies of the era, Manischewitz, founded in 1888, expanded beyond a single staple like their matzah to offer shelf-stable holiday foods. The latke mix didn't replace the ritual, it just streamlined the labor. The mix was practical for synagogues, Jewish schools, community centers, and large Hanukkah events where they require predictability, speed, and scale, which box mixes could provide. And its continued presence on grocery store shelves for decades suggests it met a real need. Even now, latkes are still varied, and historically, they always have been. There are cheese latkes that echo medieval traditions, buckwheat and grain-based versions that reflect regional crops. Israeli levivot coexist among sufganiyot, jelly donuts, but the donuts have become the more dominant Hanukkah fried food in Israel. And then there are modern interpretations: sweet potato latkes, zucchini latkes, baked latkes. These aren't betrayals of tradition, since latkes have always been flexible. Lindsay, have you ever tried the potato pancake mix before?
Yes, I'm sure I have, but I'm so not a cook or a chef that I'm never in the kitchen when it's like being made. So I can't say for sure. I mean, I've used Manischewitz for like matzo ball soup
Okay.
often, and that's great. I love that. I have actually made matzo balls before using Manischewitz, but I can't like tell you specifically. I'm sure I've had it for latkes.
Yeah.
I can't tell you like which ones, which times I've had it. Was it made from that mix?
Right. But I mean, in terms of, I guess, just the idea of it, any feelings you have? Do you think that they are not as superior? Do you think they are totally fine and make sense? If somebody were to be like, "Oh, I'm going to make these," or should I make them from scratch? Do you have preference or not really?
No, not really. I think, like I'm such a lazy person, and I think if something's gonna make it like easier for you to make something that you enjoy, then go for it. I think I'm pretty sure the mix is like kind of like I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like a kind of a powder. Yeah.
Yes,
So it's like,
correct.
you're
Yeah.
not gonna get like right? Like or what do you add into it? Do you know?
It's a great question. I'm not exactly sure. You probably yeah, I don't want to misspeak,
Yeah,
but I think it's similar. I think it's in the same vein of like instant mashed potatoes,
yeah,
similar to that, where you're rehydrating it and adding maybe some elements or two. Maybe there's eggs, maybe there's oil that you're
right,
adding to that to kind of like rehydrate it and make it into
right.
more of like that moosh that you can then
Not gonna
fry.
get like pieces of potato, like you would
No.
in a homemade latke, I guess.
Right, exactly, yeah. Well, today, latkes live in several worlds all at once. They're a deeply personal family ritual. They're a point of fierce debate: shredded versus mashed, oil versus schmaltz, applesauce versus sour cream, or both if you're honest. And they've expanded beyond the Hanukkah meal, showing up in restaurants, frozen food aisles, and grocers like Trader Joe's, and high-end menus topped with smoked fish and creme fraiche. What hasn't changed is the role they play, bringing people together, creating sensory memory, and anchoring a holiday in something you can smell from down the block. Latkes take a bigger story than just holiday food. They show how religious symbolism adapts to real life, how migration reshapes tradition, how food holds memory better than most anything else. So when you bite into a latke, you're participating in a living tradition of celebration. And if there's just one left on the plate, you better be quick in claiming it. Lindsay, what do you think about this backstory of latkes?
I feel like I've been very educated on it. I would have definitely, I did not know that it was like, I thought potato was quintessential to a latke, and so it's interesting to hear that that was like later kind of adapted. But, I love fried food, so it makes sense, it's fry a bunch of different things. Sure, it'll taste great.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's similar to a lot of other stories that we've covered on these episodes where it's cool to see where a lot of these things start out or how they start out and then how we know them today and the path they kind of took, leaving one country and coming to another, or just because of the introduction of new food items, like potatoes. Like potatoes are so synonymous with so many different food items in Eastern Europe today. But, it's like they weren't around before the 16th century. So it's like, uh, whoa, like, what the heck? Okay, so latkes were totally different. So shout out to the discovery of new foods, I guess. Shout out to potato latkes.
With applesauce.
With, yes, asterisk with applesauce. Yes. Well, of course, outside of the latke being one of the stars of every Hanukkah celebration, it's landed into a number of pop culture moments. The latke Hamantaschen debate has taken place since 1946 at the University of Chicago's Hillel Foundation, where this annual scholarly and humorous event pits latkes, a Hanukkah food, against Hamantaschen, a Purim food, in playful debates. In a Rugrats Hanukkah, a 1996 Nickelodeon special, latkes play a part of the family's holiday celebration, where Grandma Minka cooks them with Didi as the characters learn about the holiday's meaning while the babies imagine themselves in a Maccabee adventure. We have American Psycho, the 2000 film, where latkes, although in a less than flattering way, are briefly mentioned in the opening dining scene. In the 2002 Eight Crazy Nights, an Adam Sandler animated Hanukkah film, latkes appear in scenes depicting Hanukkah meals. The Hebrew Hammer is a 2003 movie where latke-related humor and on-screen eating appear in this Jewish holiday parody film. The Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming is a 2008 Lemony Snicket humorous children's book where a latke runs away from a frying pan and critiques Christmas holiday symbols, trying to educate them about Hanukkah and the cultural significance of latkes. Latke, the Lucky Dog, is a 2012 children's picture book where a dog named Latke is featured during a Hanukkah setting. In 2017, the song 8 Days of Latkes, featuring Ben Schwartz, appeared on Home for the Holidays by DreamWorks. It's a lighthearted, animated, and musical piece. And there are latke festivals in major cities, like the annual Brooklyn Museum Latke Festival in New York City, although it seems to have stopped running since December 2019, but ran for 11 years. Lindsay, are there any other pop culture moments that you can think of where latkes made a mark, or any final words that you have about your favorite food?
I'm not sure about like pop culture, but I'm a nanny and I am often looking for books to read to my kids. I'm pretty sure there's a book called I Love You, a Latke.
Oh,
I
that's sweet. What's that
I'm
one about?
it's just like a board book. I don't even really know what it's about. I think it's like a bunch of puns, probably different ways of saying like I love you. I around like Hanukkah and the holidays in general, I know I see a lot of like in the Hanukkah section, there are lots of different options for books centering around a latke.
Yeah, sure. That definitely makes sense. Well, if a couple of these others didn't sound familiar to you, maybe you can add those to the list, share it
Yeah.
with the kids, see what they think. Knowledge is power, and maybe they're silly and funny. I don't know. I haven't read those books, so I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. But I can send you the names of them
I
after
haven't I
this.
haven't heard of I didn't know. I've seen American Psycho. I don't think did I no, I finished it. I don't remember latkes being in the opening, but I have to rewatch it.
It's kind of like a blink and you'll miss it
Yeah.
moment. They don't really go into depth. It's not like this episode
Yeah.
where they talk ad nauseum about them. But it is mentioned. It makes a mark in there, so then it kind of embeds itself into pop culture just because of that. So yeah, it ends up being in a lot more places than I initially thought it would be. Places that aren't necessarily revolving around Hanukkah. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. Lindsay, thank you so much for sharing your love of latkes and helping me to tell their story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and letting me talk about how much I love them.
Thanks for watching. You can find links and more info in the description below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. See you next time.